All right, so I'm looking at the uh, structural plan here, and I see that there's nothing supporting this floor joist. So I'm going to bring my beam over to here, which means you can see the column below. I really should bring that column over as well. And also my plate that's on top of the steel beam should come all the way over to there as well. All right, so let's take a look at this section now, just to see what we have. All right, so you can see that this guy now needs to move over to here, which may change my spacing. Now my depth of view in that section is too deep now. I'm being confused. See how far it goes back? I'm seeing these steel columns as well. So I'm going to pull this depth of view back so that I can only see the columns that I'm interested in right now. Um, and the reason I want to see that is because I moved this guy, the spacing has probably changed now in terms of if I want them to be equal. And sure enough, I needed to do that. And I'll just delete this guy and say okay to that. All right, so that looks good. Back to the first floor. Come over here and I see, well, now this column is floating way out here. That column's not going to work. It's not going to do anything if it's over there. So I'll move the section up a little bit just to see what happened. And I guess I need to move this guy from where? Uh, let's do it again. Move him from there to there. Now, again, the question is, are these columns equally spaced? Let's have a look. Yep, so everything's good there. All right, now we go back to the first floor. Let's go to this first floor. No, let's go to this one. So we can see all of the framing. And remember, in a previous tutorial, I said, wait a second, we don't have anything holding up the end here. And I said, I think I might put a column there. So let's move the section a little bit farther. And I've got these three guys, and I want to put a steel column there. So let's copy this guy over to here. And then we'll align the center of this, it's really called a header, with that. And now I need to raise it up. The reference for the top of this is the first floor. So I'm going to measure from the first floor down to where I want this top of the column, and it's 11¼ inches. I'll simply come up here and copy that. And then I'll go back and click on this column and say minus Control V, and I get the distance that I want. So I want that column to be holding that up. Now, it might not be in the right spot. Let's go back and take a look. Can't. It might be okay, but let's actually take a look at the first floor. And sure enough, it's not quite right. I want the end of that to be there. So I will say, let's move that guy. Let's select him again and say move. And we're going to move him, escape, escape. I'm going to select this guy. I'm going to move him from there to the end of there. And look at what happened. It also, it moved my, okay, so now there's an issue that they're connected. So I'm going to disallow the join, and I'm going to highlight this guy and say disallow the join, and this guy as well, and say, oh, I got to click on the little dot there and say disallow join. And then I'll pull this guy up now to there. which means maybe I should be moving my column a little bit farther. So we go back to here. There's the column. What I'm going to do is select that column and just move the guy so I can see it in this view. And now that's connected to there too. So it's a bit of a mess. We'll move this guy first of all from here to there. And this guy's a little off axis, so now I have to disallow that join because they're connecting to each other. And then I will align here and here. Okay, now we're good. All right, so I got that other column in where I said I needed a column. So I just want to make sure all of my structure has some sort of a support on both ends. It looks like it does. And now when I come down and look here, this looks kind of weird too. I'm not sure why it's like that. So let's grab this down. Something else looks like it moved. So we'll go to that view. And sure enough, all of this stuff moved and it shouldn't have. So let's pull this guy. He's got to go. I haven't dropped the stacked wall, so the level of this, the elevation of that is correct, but the location isn't quite right. So I've grabbed something and moved it. If we take a look over here at this first floor, look at that too. All kinds of things got weird here because I think I moved this structural system. So let's see if I can grab it and move it back to where I want it to be, which this guy has to line up with this guy. So I'll move it over from here to there. And then I know it's got to be another 1.5 inches because there's a, so I'll grab the structural system. Yeah, this is all messed up now, isn't it? So maybe my assumption about moving it was not correct. So I'm going to undo that. Got a real mess here now because something moved when something else moved. And okay, so now we have to just go around and take a look at everything. And as I said, these tutorials are done on the fly, so that you can see when I make an error, you can see what that error is, and you may be making the same error too. So I've just cleaned up the bond. Now I have to clean up the beam because look at where the beam is. Why did the beam get stuck way out there? I don't know what I did. I've grabbed something and something else was locked to it. So this looks, if that beam is in the right location, then the plate on top of it should go to there. Okay, so that looks good. Now, let's see if I can grab this guy, the structure here. Why this is here, I'm not sure. So let's edit the boundary and check. This is in the right location. This is in the right location. This is in the wrong location. So I'm going to change that boundary to there. And this boundary is on top of the steel beam, which is a good spot. Okay. So let's say okay to that and see what happens. Much better. Much, much better. Okay. One thing that I see though is that they're not quite up against each other. So I've selected that structural system and now I'm just going to move it from here to here so that they're next to each other. They would definitely, I think we call that sistering, so they would be sistered like that. Okay, so I've cleaned that up. All right, so went through and saw some problems. I'm not sure what caused that problem. If we go back and look at the other tutorial, we could probably see what the problem was, but it appears to be fixed now, so I think we're okay. What's going on right here? Yeah, okay, so that's fine. All right, so what the purpose of this tutorial though was to put the pads in. Okay, so let's put in a pad structure. We're going to come over here to put in an isolated pad. What's the size? Okay, there's no foundations loaded, so let's load one. We don't want to steal. We don't want structural columns. We want structural foundations. And it's not a pile. It's a rectangular footing. Okay, we'll say okay to that. Now I have one loaded. Look at the size of it. That's not the size that I want, but I'm going to put it in anyway. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to go to the floor plan that shows just the steel columns. And I'm going to grab these two items and I'm going to come down and isolate the categories. So now I can see my steel columns and I can still see my pad. So I want my pads to be 36 by 36. So if I click on this pad and I come down here, there isn't a 36 by 36. So guess what? Edit the type, duplicate, and we're going to say 30. It's 36 by 36 by 12. So 36 inches by 36 inches by 12 inches is the size that we want it to be. So the thickness is going to change here to 1, and that's going to be 3, and that's going to be 3. So I've changed the constraints, I've changed the properties of it, and let's see now. Now I have a 36 by 36, and all right, so let's see why it disappeared. We'll put the 36 by 36 inch in there, structure, isolated. I want 36 by 36 by 12. I'll put that right there. I can't see it. It's probably because I didn't pay attention to where it was located. So I'll go to the view, and sure enough, there it is. I want the level to be bottom of basement wall. Let's see what happens. There, it's perfect now. And so we'll go back to the floor plan. I should have been able to see it, but let's see why I can't see that. I should be able to see it. I can see it here. Okay. So we've selected this guy. Let's go back to here. I'm going to hold the control key down and I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to say isolate category. So now the only things that I should be able to see. All right, we'll change the view range. Let's go down. Okay, so that's why I can't see it because I'm not seeing it down far enough. So we'll go down 10 feet and we'll make this 11 feet and let's see what happens now. What I did in the view range, which was a mistake, was I typed 10 feet and 11 feet instead of minus 10 feet and minus 11 feet because we want to be able to, the bottom of our view range is minus 10 feet and the depth of our view range is minus 11. So now I can see both of those objects and I'm just going to say copy and let's see if we can copy from the midpoint. Yep, there's a midpoint there. So I'm going to put one of those, I'm trying to get the midpoint. Okay, so we'll have to align it. We'll use the align tool and align to the horizontal. Okay, so I got one in there. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to try to go from the midpoint of here. And it's not letting me. Again, so I have to do a little bit of extra work. I'm not sure why Revit's not letting me do what I want to do, but you know, we can fight it for hours or we can just accept that it's not working for us. This one I just put in. So we'll copy this guy again. From the midpoint of here, I want to go to the midpoint of here, but of course it's not letting me. So I will align to the vertical line and then over there. So now I got my third pad in there, looking good. Because each of these columns need to rest on a pad footing. And this one, this should work for us now. We'll copy from the midpoint of here, going to go straight down. That one should work, midpoint of here. When they're in the same line, it seems like it'll work for us. Okay. So this one will work also. I'll copy that straight down. I think these line up. I might be wrong with that. Let's see. I'm not sure if those two are in the exact same spot. So let's just double check. We'll put some dimension. I won't be able to see it because I have it. I only have, these are the only two categories that I can see right now. So let's see if we want to grab this guy and copy from here to here. And I've clicked multiple so I can continue to copy. The bottom of the footing is the same, but this guy, what's the distance between the midpoint of here and the midpoint of here is 4 inches. So I really should add another at least 4 inches. So edit the type of that, duplicate it. We're going to say 46 by 40. We'll get rid of the 2 and say okay. And so the width of that now is going to be, instead of 36, it's going to be 40 inches. Okay, and we'll say okay to that. And so now that made that a little bit wider. And it should be centered. Again, I can't draw a line because I only have these two categories visible right now. So we'll copy this guy. And get him over to here. Okay. And then let's see if we can go straight up here. Yeah, we can. And we'll go straight up here. Yep. So that looks good. I'm looking for any more columns that need pad footings underneath it. And I can see that this guy does. So we'll say from the midpoint of here to there. And then we'll use the align tool. I'll pick the vertical line of that, the midpoint of that. And then this guy I can copy over. So I'll just copy him. Copy from where? Center of here to where? Center of here. All right, got a few more that need pad footing, so let's do that. This one right here needs a pad footing, so we'll copy this guy from the midpoint of that column, and we'll pick and then we'll just move it over this way. No, we'll use the align tool. We'll align from the vertical of here to the vertical of there. Now these two should be on the same level plane, so we'll come across, straight across, and let's see what happens there. Okay, that looks good. Got one to go. This guy is all right. I was just trying to think, why is it not lining up with anything, but And then we'll align this guy, this guy. And I think the beam that comes across here butts into the beam that's coming across here. Oh, there's another one. So I think we're in good shape. Copy from the midpoint of here to the midpoint of here. All right, let's reset all of these objects. And this guy, so I'm going to I'm going to hide that category, and I'll be able to draw that line now. So I'm going to say annotate detail line, and I'm just going to draw a detail line from the end of here to the end of here. And then I'll draw a detail line from the midpoint of there, and I'll take it out in a second and go straight up to there. And now that's the midpoint of the pad footing. So that's going to align, looking for the midpoint line of that pad footing, which is right there. Now, the pad footing is equidistant on both sides there, so I can get rid of those detail lines. And I was just trying to center the pad footing exactly on those columns. So let's take a look. Everything looks good. Now we have our pad footings in, but let's double check to make sure that we have it right by looking at a section. I'm going to grab this section and just pull it up so that I'll be able to see those columns and pad footings. And yep, looks good. I like it. I like it. Okay, so far so good. So now we have our pad footings in. Little by little, we're making the necessary additions to our project.